Be ready. 5 seconds. Start. In the last 1 year, our country has witnessed historic and impactful economic reforms and policy making. In fact, India was one of the very few economies undertaking transformational reforms. There were two major policy initiatives, namely passage of the Constitution Amendment Bill for GST and the progress for its implementation and demonetization of high denomination bank notes. The advantages of GST for our economy in terms of spurring growth, competitiveness, indirect tax simplification, and greater transparency have already been extensively discussed in both houses of parliament. I thank all members of both the houses for having passed the Constitution Amendment unanimously. I also thank the state governments for resolving all relevant issues in the GST Council. Demonetization of high denomination banknotes was in continuation of a series of measures taken by our government during the last 2 years. It is a bold and decisive measure. For several decades, tax evasion for many has become a way of life. This compromises the larger public interest and creates unjust enrichment in favor of the tax evader to the detriment of the poor and deprived. This has bred a parallel economy which is unacceptable for an inclusive society. Demonetization seeks to create a new normal wherein the GDP would be bigger, cleaner, and real. This exercise is part of our government's resolve to eliminate corruption, black money, counterfeit currency, and terror funding. Like all reforms, this measure is obviously disruptive as it seeks to change the retrograde status quo. Drop in economic activity, if any, on account of the currency squeeze during the demonetization period is expected to have only a transient impact on the economy. I am reminded here of what the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, had said: a right cause never fails. Demonetization has strong potential to generate long term benefits in terms of reduced corruption, greater digitization of the economy, increased flow of financial savings, and greater formalization of the economy, all of which would eventually lead to higher GDP growth and tax revenues. Demonetization helps to transfer resources from the tax evaders to the government, which can use these resources for the welfare of the poor and the deprived. There is early evidence of an increased capacity of banks to lend at reduced interest rates and a huge shift towards digitization among all sections of society. The pace of demonetization has picked up and will soon reach comfortable levels. The effects of demonetization are not expected to spill over into the next year. Thus, IMF, even while revising India's GDP forecast for 2016 downwards, has projected a GDP growth of 7.2% and 7.7% in 2017 and 2018 respectively. The World Bank, however, is more optimistic and has projected a GDP growth of 7% in 2016-17, 7.6% in 2017-18, and 7.8% in 2018-19. This pickup in our economy is premised upon our policy and determination to continue with economic reforms, increase in public investment in infrastructure and development projects, and export growth in the context of the expected rebound in world economy. The surplus liquidity in the banking system created by demonetization will lower borrowing costs and increase the access to credit. This will boost economic activity with multiplier effects. The announcements made by Honorable Prime Minister address many of the key concerns of our economy at this juncture, such as housing for the poor, relief to farmers, credit support to MSMEs, encouragement to digital transactions, assistance to pregnant women and senior citizens, and priority to Dalits, tribals, backward classes, and women under the Mudra Yojana. My overall approach while preparing this budget has been to spend more in rural areas, infrastructure, and poverty alleviation, and yet maintain the best standards of fiscal prudence. I have also kept in mind the need to continue with economic reforms, promote higher investments, and accelerate growth. The last 1 year was a witness to other major reforms, namely enactment of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, amendment to the RBI Act for inflation targeting enactment of the Aadhaar Bill for disbursement of financial subsidies and benefits, significant reforms in FDI policy, the job creating package for textile sector, and several other measures. We will continue the process of economic reforms for the benefit of the poor and the underprivileged. Madam Speaker, the budget for 2017-18 contains three major reforms. First, the presentation of the budget has been advanced to 1st February to enable the Parliament to avoid a vote on account and pass a single appropriation bill for 2017-18 before the close of the current financial year. This would enable the ministries and departments to operationalize all schemes and projects, including the new schemes, right from the commencement of the next financial year.